Will from Monkey Steals Peach here again with another exclusive tea chat for you Patreon supporters. Today I've got another oolong tea, also from Wuyi Mountains. This tea is called Qilan. Qi means strange or unique, and lan is a kind of flower. Actually, I'm not sure what kind of flower it is, but a lot like the last one I had, the Jinmudan, it's quite a floral lighter oolong. So anyway, today's chat I want to share something a little bit more personal. I may in the future put this up on my public YouTube, but I'm not too sure how it will go down. Basically, I want to talk about my bad experience with Xinyi Liuhe in Shanghai. Now, this is a style that I really like, and I really wanted to learn this style. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of background about the style, just in case you're not sure. So, we all know Xinyi, right? It's one of the three great internal styles. Well, Xinyi Liuhe is often called the Muslim branch of Xinyi, as in it comes from the origin is from the same source, but they sort of separated out like this, and Xinyi sort of went one way and Xinyi Liuhe went another way, and it was practiced by Chinese Muslims from Henan province. It's a bit different to Xinyi. It doesn't have the 5 element fists, and it has it has 10 animals instead of 12. But I really like the style because of its training methods, and the way it trains the techniques, the way it expresses power, and the way that it's a very compact, small system with only a few techniques. For me, I really like this. And so when I came back to China, I left China and went to live in South Korea for a year in 2014. And when I moved back to China, moved to Shanghai, I discovered that one of the most popular styles here is Xinyi Liuhe. The most popular style here, just in case you're interested, is probably Taiji Chuan, but I don't really like that. So anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm rambling a bit. So I wanted to study Xinyi Liuhe, and first of all, I got into contact with a guy. I don't want to mention any names still. I got in contact with a guy on the internet, quite a nice guy, a foreign guy, and he was training with a very well-known Xinyi Liuhe teacher here in Shanghai, who was also himself a Chinese Muslim, because a lot of them in Shanghai nowadays are not Chinese Muslims. So I got in touch with this guy, we met up, he took me to meet his teacher, had a couple of training sessions, and I really enjoyed the training. I mean, the basics were absolutely grueling. He had me do their basic, which is called the chicken step. They don't have santi shi, they don't stand on the spot like this. Instead they have the chicken step, which is like this with the body side on. And they practice standing it on the spot, and then they sort of walk with it. That's the main basic training for Xinyi Liuhe. So he taught me this, and his class was held in this underground car park, and there was quite a few people there. Everybody was just doing their lines. There was no partner training going on at all. It was everybody was just doing their solo drills. But the teacher explained things pretty well to me, and I thought, yeah, this is something I can learn. You know, hopefully down the line I will be able to do some partner training. And the teacher said to me, okay, so it's 500 yuan a month training, or you can pay me 10,000 yuan in one go to do the Baishi discipleship ceremony, and then you don't need to pay again. So I'm like, oh, that's a little bit odd, because normally teachers don't just offer Baishi, you know, out of the blue like that to complete strangers. Normally you have to build up trust over several years before you're offered it. So after I went a few times and I learnt a lot of the basic techniques of Xinyi Liuhe, one day the teacher had gone away on holiday, and some of the older students were left sort of running the training. I was doing my thing, I was practicing my line drills up and down by myself, and then this guy came along and just started watching the class. And one of the senior students was this like older guy who was really short. I shouldn't really say senior student, because from what I understand he trained under the same teacher as the teacher. He's this sort of short, podgy, middle-aged guy, and he was a Chinese doctor doctor of Chinese medicine by profession. And you know, I'd already sort of had a bad impression of him because, you know, he was pretty rough, pretty rude. And the first time I went there, like, I overheard him saying to some other students, if any foreigners come to my clinic and I treat them, I charge them 10 times more than I charge Chinese. If they don't like it, they can piss off. I was like, okay, this guy's kind of an asshole. Then, this particular day, there was, like I say, the teacher was away. And another guy came along, a random guy came along and started watching training, and then he started asking about tuition. And then that like old rough guy with his big mouth sort of went over to this guy and was like, oh yeah, if you want to train with us, it's what did he say? I think he said it was 200 yuan a month, unless you're a foreigner, and then it's 500 yuan a month. The foreigners all pay more, as they should, but they don't really, sorry, I got a cat here, they don't really get to learn any of the real Kung Fu anyway. So, you know, he said this in Shanghai dialect, and obviously he didn't realize that I understand Shanghai dialect. But I didn't say anything, I didn't make a fuss. I just, after I heard it, I just said, oh, I'm very sorry, I've got stuff to do. Something's come up very suddenly, I gotta go. I took my bag and I left. After I left, I contacted the teacher on WeChat, and I asked him, like, is it true that you're charging more to me because I'm a foreigner? And he didn't give me a direct answer. And then everything sort of escalated because I put a post up on Rum Soak Fist forum. I actually didn't mention the teacher by name, I just asked people what their opinion of overcharging foreigners was. And then the foreign student who'd introduced me to the teacher obviously was very angry and embarrassed. He made a lot of derogatory comments towards me, saying I didn't really understand Chinese and I didn't know what I was talking about, whatever. And then he spoke to the teacher. I don't really know what he said, but he sort of escalated everything, and that teacher started then like harassing me quite a lot, because I basically just said I wasn't going to go back. I didn't want to go back to this kind of place if they're ripping foreigners off. So then this teacher just started phoning me, messaging me, just, you know, harassing me. So I just basically I just severed contact. Just said, you know, please don't contact me again. And that was that. Second teacher I went to in Shanghai was also, he was from Henan, but he wasn't a Hui Muslim, he was just he was a Han Chinese. He was a very, very nice guy, and he was a full-time, he was an artist actually. He was an artist and a Kung Fu teacher, and he had a proper school. He ran a proper, he actually had a school, which is not that common in China nowadays. Most people teach just in a park or somewhere. We had this proper school with proper classes, and it was quite a nice atmosphere. The people there were quite nice. So I joined, and I trained for a month or so, and there was this sort of promise that they had all this intense sparring sessions, and they used to have this open fight night where people from other styles could come along and whatever, but this just never materialized. And after like I say, after about a month or two, and I studied the basics with him, which was a very different approach to things, because he was doing a lot of pad work and strength drills and basic blocking and things. But after a while I started to feel like this was more just like doing Sanda than it was doing Xinyi Liuhe Chuan, which was nice, but it wasn't what I wanted. And after a couple of months I pretty much learnt everything that they were ever doing in class. I mean, I watched the senior students and they were doing the exact same thing. And it wasn't even like they were really that good at it. I mean, at the risk of sounding big-headed, I was pretty sure I could hold myself against every one of his students. So I just told that teacher that I just made up an excuse that it was too far away for me to travel to his school, and I'd met another teacher who was closer. Which leads me on to the last teacher, the last Xinyi Liuhe teacher I met. He was by far the best skill-wise of all three. I mean, his kung fu was really, really good. He was a Hui Muslim from a martial arts family. His uncle was, or great uncle or something, I can't remember the exact relation, but this uncle figure that he'd learnt off since he was 5 years old had been like a military official or something in the Qing dynasty, and was a very, very serious figure in martial arts. He was on good terms with people like Wang Zeping and Huo Yunjia, and as well as most of the Muslim community in Shanghai of martial artists. So he came from a very serious lineage, this guy that I met, and as I say, he really had skill. Not only was he really good at Xinyi Liuhe, but he also knew Cha Chuan, which is like Muslim long fist, which is a very good style with lots of weapons and lots and lots of forms, but it is a very good style. And he also knew some rare Muslim styles which I was quite interested in. For example, Qi Shi Chuan, which is 7 postures style, which is a very, very rare system that not many non-Muslims will ever have the chance of learning. So I was really, really excited to meet this guy, and he taught in a completely different way from the last guy. No school, didn't publicly advertise or promote himself. You know, I just went to his house and we trained in his living room, and then we sat in the kitchen and had tea and talked. And initially, yeah, he was very, very nice. His teaching was so detailed, really, really good. And I was like, this is what I'm looking for, this is really good. And he also said to me that he wasn't interested in money, you didn't need to pay, he didn't accept payment, he taught for free. So I thought, wow, this guy sounds pretty good. I trained a few times, had to relearn the basics for a 3rd time, because of course every teacher is slightly different. But you know, the sad thing was, he started more and more just talking really, really disrespectfully about other martial artists in Shanghai to me, and also talking really disrespectfully to some of my foreign friends who practice Xinyi Liuhe, you know, saying very, very disrespectful things. And I just sort of put it off to one side. You know, a lot of the teachers in China are actually quite like this. But then he started asking me if I could recruit foreign students for him, which he could charge them a load of money, and as I quote this directly, but he wouldn't teach them any real skill at all, he'd just give them a few basic movements. And he also then went on to ask me if I could help his daughter find an Australian husband so they could immigrate there and then divorce and basically just get a residency there. So I was like, yeah, this guy is not a very good person at all. I don't really want to be involved with someone like this. And then the very, very last straw was he had this other student who apparently was a national champion of Sandai in China. And I kept saying that I'd like to go to this guy's Sandai gym and spar. And he always, oh yeah, it would be really good, you should go along to this gym, you should spar. You should spar with this guy and his students, it will be really good for you, it will be really good practice. So finally he took me there one day. I was really psyched up about it. So I got there and there was like a bunch of like 5-year-old kids, you know, doing like standing in guard in lines and going 1, 2, 1, 2, and then stepping up and down and then doing push-ups and running around the padded gym. And I said, so what about the sparring then? He said, oh, but we only have small children here. That's it. That's all the students are kids. And I was pretty disappointed. So, and then the Xinyi Liuhe teacher said to me, what about you show us all a mantis form? So I did a mantis form, and then this student of his, the Sandai guy, started making a lot of derogatory statements about my mantis teacher, saying, you've learnt fake mantis, this is all made up, this is not mantis, you know, mantis is an animal style, it's supposed to imitate a mantis, and all this. And obviously he only knew about Liuhe's performance mantis, he'd never seen proper mantis before. But I got pretty angry and I did lose it, because he started saying your Shifu's a cheat, you're being ripped off, he's a liar, he doesn't know anything. I did really lose it, and I did quite want to punch this guy, but luckily I didn't. I just sort of, I can't remember what I said, but I just sort of said something. And then afterwards I left the school, and after a couple of days I just decided to message the teacher and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to come back. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I really had high hopes for Xinyi Liuhe, but I had 3 teachers that all left me with a bad impression. I mean, probably there are other teachers here who probably are good, but I feel like at the same, you know, then I sort of said to myself, well, is it even worth just keep going through this all the time? You know, if I just keep going and visiting new teachers until I find a good one, I've only got a couple of years in Shanghai. Is it going to be worth spending all that time finding a teacher and then not even being able to learn for that long before I leave? Am I not better spending my time just improving my mantis rather than trying to learn a whole new style? And at the same time, I probably burnt some bridges there, because no doubt those teachers will know other teachers and they'll probably tell them, you know, not to teach me or something. So yeah, that was pretty much my Xinyi Liuhe experience. Quite disappointing really, but you try and learn from it what you can. I think that's the important thing. And it just sort of made me realise how lucky I am to have such a good teacher in Yantai, my mantis teacher Zhou Zhendong. Just how lucky I am that he is a very honest and good person, and also a very good martial artist and a very good teacher at the same time. So yeah, maybe at some point in the future I might also publish this video or a video like it on YouTube, but for now I just want to leave this personal story just with you guys, my Patreon supporters, just to thank you for supporting the channel. And yeah, there's no point saying subscribe and like and all that, because you obviously already have done. So I just say thank you for supporting the channel, and yeah, keep training hard. Thank you.